Welcome to this Super Bowl 60 special here on Draft Utopia. We will break down position by position for both teams, and then we will crown a winner at the end. Chris Ransom, William Yanish, Joseph Potter. If you tuned into Sports Head Radio, you already know what William and I are going to say. You don't know what Joey's going to say, and we're going to start with each position one by one, breaking them down. I'm going to start with the quarterbacks, and I'm going to open up with Sam Darnold. Even though I think Drake May is the better quarterback, opening with Darnold because New England is the designated home team, despite the fact that they're wearing white. So for a lot of the position breakdowns, I am going to open up with Seattle. So Darnold is interesting because I don't think he's ever beaten New England in his career. He's only player of the game once on Draft Utopia this year. I think the majority of the time, the player of the game for Seattle was Walker or JSN, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Darnold, only time he was player of the game was 2 weeks ago in the NFC Championship when he played against the Rams. But the Rams, they don't really have that dominant lockdown number one corner. And Seattle was just able to dictate the tempo against San Francisco from start to finish. So I've got to see Darnold dominate against a defense as good as the Patriots. I mean, McDaniels had a very good year, but I'm more of a depth chart guy than a coach's guy. So I'm not really going to look at the coaching as much as I look at the overall players in the landscape of things. But I'm looking at what Darnold did. He had one dominant game this year, William, and that was 2 weeks ago in the NFC Championship. Because this Super Bowl, New England feels like the team of consistency. Seattle feels like the team with momentum. And I've been a big proponent of momentum comes and goes. It's like the stock market. You have to anticipate when to fade it. If you keep riding it, eventually you're going to crash into a wall if you ride momentum too long.
Yep, and it can definitely be felt. I mean, the Seattle Seahawks are on a 12-game winning streak, something along those lines. I know they're at 8,
They have not turned the ball over since week 12. I don't know what the winning streak is at, though.
Yeah. Well, when they went head-to-head with the 49ers, we were both on a winning streak. That was 8, 10, 11 games, whatever it was. It doesn't matter, and that's definitely what happens. Is how long can you sustain that? And it's just one of those things. But I mean, May's just been on it all year long, and it's like Fernando Mendoza with Indiana. I mean, you just add it all year long. It's one of those years where the quarterback's coming out and just dictating everything and passing the ball around, 10.
Yeah, we're going to get to Drake May in a second.
Yeah, but
yeah.
But
no worries. Good segue.
Sam Darnold, I like the guy. Him, Mac Jones, pretty much the same guy. And they're both capable of the same things, but like we've been talking about, Seattle is. We have to be able to see this guy come out there and actually win. We've mentioned it 1,000 times, or that I have that.
Because up until the NFC Championship, Sam Darnold had 0 games with 300 total yards, passing, rushing combined, and 0 interceptions. He had 0 games up until the NFC Championship 2 weeks ago. That type of inconsistency is alarming to a degree. But at the same token, he's done it more recently, so that's why people are inclined to pick Seattle to win. But
it's like, Chris, if you're talking about quarterbacks, neither one have been exactly stellar all year.
Actually, Drake May was player of the game 7 times this season, so I would disagree with you on that. May has been stellar.
I've seen him underperform a few times in the games that I've watched.
Well, in the game,
but at the same time, who's been more?
Stafford was only player of the game 5 times, and this year
is more consistent. And who is more
Player of the game
consistent?
award is subjective because it's basically the best player on the winning
Game
team.
award means nothing. In the end, it means nothing. We can talk about it. We can talk about it. We can give it. It's an abstract award that means nothing. It's almost like Coach of the Year. It means nothing. We can talk about it. It is what it is. The thing is, we're looking at who is the most consistent between the two. Neither one of them are 100% consistent. I can name 15 other quarterbacks that outperform both those guys at different points in time during the year. But the bottom line is, who is most consistent? I will look right at you and say Drake May was the most consistent.
He was.
Well, you have to look at the fact also that Drake May has only been starting for a year and a half now.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold's been starting for 2 years. I mean, it's just one of those things that you have to look at that too. And May was a rookie coming in last year, and look what he did. He had no offensive line. I thought he was going to get killed. Literally, I'm like, don't put him in, don't put him in, don't put him in. But he got in there and he was mobile enough to get out of some of those things, and he has shown that mobility, and that's one of the things that I preach when I evaluated him. I watched him both years, almost every game that he played. In college at UNC, and he has been consistent. It's as simple as that. It's just going back to.
I think a lot of people, forget Drake May, and the same thing they forget about a lot of these young quarterbacks is like they've only been in the league 1 or 2 years. They're gonna be inconsistent at times. They're gonna have bad games. But it doesn't mean that they're not overall consistent just because they have some ups and downs. They're going to have long stretches of we're really good quarterbacks, but we're still learning. I mean,
it's also that I've had both these guys in fantasy football the last 2 years, and I have seen that Drake May, he was averaging just over like 20, 21, 22 points a game, and he never had any outbursts until it was week 15 when he ended up with 41 points. Sam Darnold, was doing about the same thing. He was good, but May just has a higher ceiling.
It's not just the higher ceiling. It's been more.
And that's what I was. That's kind of what I see at the same time, William, because I'm like, there are so many people who have had much better games, and May has had a couple stinkers, but at the same time, May comes back from those stinkers and has a really good game. He doesn't consistently have bad games. And that is really the definition of, a franchise guy, a guy that's going to steer the ship. He's not going to rock the boat, but when you need him, he's going to do what needs to be done. And I think that's the difference because Darnold, every time put under a microscope, he falls flat on his face.
We need to talk about the supporting cast now. That you're bringing that up. Who May had. Obviously, it's like, dude, May just gets in there. He uses his legs so much, between his first and second year starting in college. The first year starting, it was like you could see he had some mobility, but it was like it was kind of he's not going to do that so much in the NFL. But his second year, he got so much better at it.
Well, to be fair to Drake May, he had to carry that offense in year 1. Year 2, they bring in Diggs, they bring in Will Campbell in the draft, they bring in Jared Wilson, they get Bradbury in free agency, they get Morgan Moses to complement Onwenu, who is the only decent starter on New England's offensive line during Drake May's rookie year, and he pulls a 180. You bring in McDaniels, bring in.
I'm glad you brought up Morgan Moses because I was just about to bring that up. It's like the job that Elliott Wolf has done, and then with Rabel and the job that he's done on the coaching side has been phenomenal to surround Drake May with what he has. And he didn't have to surround him with massive contract guys and everything. He just surrounded with really solid people. And Morgan Moses, I thought, was probably the best signing of the year for New England because Morgan
It's
Moses has been nothing short of spectacular when it comes to doing what he's asked to do.
yep.
Well, he's always been solid. Morgan Moses has
I want to get to
been
the running
always been
backs pretty
solid.
soon, but yeah,
Um,
I think the QB advantage goes to New England. The running backs, we've got Kenneth Walker for Seattle. This is probably one of two categories I'd give Seattle the advantage in, but you could argue New England has the advantage at running back depth since they've got Stevenson and Trevian Henderson. But Kenneth Walker has been player of the game, I think, 4 times on Draft Utopia this year. Stevenson, I think, was player of the game once, and Trevian Henderson was player of the game twice this year. But I think Kenneth Walker and JSN were both player of the game 4 times on Draft Utopia this year. So when it comes to Seattle's offense, Kenneth Walker Jr. Kenneth Walker III is gonna be a staple in that offense at running back. He's gonna get his carries, but New England, they do have the run defense to shut him down, but I'll get into the defensive matchups a little bit later here. But yeah, Kenneth Walker third, he is going to have to eat yards in the ground in order for and if New England's interior offensive line can limit Seattle's defensive line, I think you're more likely to see New England get these 6-7 yard runs. Whereas I think with New England, with Spillane playing, he didn't play in the AFC title. He played in the divisional round before he got injured. With Spillane playing, it's going to be much harder to run the ball on New England. And I think you're going to see 2 to 5 yard carries from Walker most of the game. Whereas New England, they're going to get those 6-7 yard runs and dictate the time of possession. But either way, it'll be,
Well,
I give
that's
Seattle running back edge.
the variations of the running backs too, because New England's running backs are, you know, 5 to 10 yard pops or big plays, where Seattle was more grind them out. So the 2 to 5 yards, it's probably not going to impact as much as what it would because you're looking at a difference in philosophy. If Seattle breaks off a 20-yard run, everybody's like, well, that's a great run because that's not what they're known for. That's not what they do. Whereas New England, if Henderson breaks off a 20-yard run, it's like, okay, that's Henderson. That's kind of what he does. That's why he's supposed to be here. So I do think it's a contrast in style in that New England big plays, hit them hard, hit them fast, where Seattle was more, we're going to wear you down, we're going to grind you, and we're going to make you hit. And it's the difference in the running game philosophy in less than, who is against them.
Well, this is the second coming of the Patriot way, but it has higher octane with, they brought in Travion Henderson. I mean, he was so solid at Ohio State, so underrated,
And I think Kenneth Walker III can break off those big runs. The thing is, I just don't think he's going to do it against this defense. That's what I'm factoring into the evaluation more than anything else. Whereas Seattle, they've given up the 6th most yards to quarterbacks on runs. So I think you're going to see multiple players in New England get those 6-7 yard gains consistently, whether it's Stevenson, whether it's Trevian, whether it's Drake May. I think you're going to see New England get those 6-7 yard big runs more consistently in this Super Bowl. And that's why I think the Patriots will win the time of possession battle. I'm thinking it'll be 31 to 35 minutes for New England versus 25 to 29 minutes for Seattle. I don't have the exact numbers, but that's what I'm estimating the time of possession battle will be. So Kenneth Walker is going to have some big runs to make that time of possession a little bit more even for it. Otherwise, New England is going to win this.
Yeah. Well, the time of possession, that is just absolutely doing that. It's going to win the game. It dictates everything, and so it's just going to be, who ends up doing that, because they both have their running backs. Both teams have their running backs to do that, So
wide receiver, So who'd you guys give the advantage to at running back? Because I feel like it is a little bit even, but I went with Seattle.
Seattle is always nicked up. I'm going with I'm going to say the Patriots just because of the versatility that they have between
Yeah, they have more
Davis
depth. I
and the
think
pass
Seattle's got the
blocking
better overall back. That's why it's
and
kind of a push
Thumper
for me.
and Stevenson. Yeah, it really is. I'm just going that to argue the point.
That's
because
fair.
It's obviously
That's fair.
there. So
I'm looking more at the coaching philosophy between the running games than you guys are. Obviously, that's kind of part of my background. So I'm looking at it more from a stylistic issue, and I think both teams will do what they're designed to do in the running game. I think New England might have more yards because they're going to have more big plays, but I think Seattle will probably have more first downs because they grind it out more. So I don't think there is a clear advantage in the running game for either team because I think they will do just fine. I think they're both going to excel at what they do well in this game. I don't think either run defense is going to be able to stop that.
I think I think New England's run defense will, but we'll get to that when we get to that. I'm gonna wide receivers. Joey's going push. I'm going Seattle. Williams going New England. So that shows you the level of variance both running games have.
exactly.
Because there's usually a consensus one direction or the other when it comes to these type of things. The wide receiver advantage, I will go Seattle. But one thing I will mention is that in number 1 and number 2 receivers in targeted receptions this year are Stephon Diggs and Kayshon Boutte. They're number 1 and 2 in targeted receptions. There's a stat I found from Next Gen Stats. It's a crazy stat I found.
Yeah, and that's one thing about Boutte because I mean he hasn't shown that. I've had him in
tight window catch rate.
again the last
tight window
couple
catch
of
rate.
years.
That's the
Yeah,
stat.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was Puka was third,
and I really love that,
JSN was 5th.
because it shows the work that Boutte's been doing and may have been doing with different receivers.
So you could argue this is sort of a push. I'm going to go with Seattle. They've got JSN, who's been the best receiver in the league this year. You've got Cooper Kupp, former Super Bowl 56 MVP. And you got Rashid Shaheed. If the Seahawks had Torrey Horton healthy, that might be enough for them to win this game because they'd have 4 good receivers. New England would only have 3 good corners, but they don't use 3 receiver sets very often. And even if they had a healthy Torrey Horton, they would probably only use a 4 receiver set 1 or 2 plays during the entirety of the game, which I don't agree with from a coaching standpoint because if you've got 4 good receivers, you should find a way to get all of them involved. And that's what I think McDaniels does that Kubiak doesn't, because even though he'll only give Kyle Williams or Efton Chisholm III 1 to 2 targets a game, he'll find a way to sprinkle those guys into the system, and he'll pick the right time to do it. So I think Seattle has the advantage in terms of sheer overall talent at wide receiver, but as far as picking your poison and dictating when to get receivers involved from a coaching standpoint, I give the Patriots the advantage.
But it's in pure talent. It's Seattle. JSN, Rashid Shaheed. They've been a couple of my favorite receivers the last few years. And
I think Kubiak can be a great head coach, but I think McDaniels does a better job utilizing receivers, different variations, different sets. Whereas Kubiak excels more as a QB, running back, tight end coach. Because I don't see him call out a 3 receiver, 4 receiver sets, even though the Seahawks have the personnel to run that very frequently.
Well,
Kubiak is going to run his guys to the point that they get open. He knows who he is, and he knows what he's doing. Where McDaniel, he has a lot of experience. And I think that's where the offensive coordinator position becomes really important. Is it's not that McDaniel is a better offensive coordinator than Kubiak. It's that McDaniel's has so much more experience that he can put people in positions that Kubiak may not think of yet. And that's an advantage. That's an advantage for New England. And I think this is where New England got a major step up because the Browns kept Tommy Reese instead of letting him go to New England, and New England had to go with McDaniels because McDaniels is so much more experienced than I think any offensive coordinator in the NFL. And he's going to move these receivers around a lot, and he's going to make Seattle's defense think. Whereas Kubiak is going to put the best receivers in the best position. And I think Jackson Smith-Njigba may be the X factor in this situation because where New England has the ability to move a bunch of guys around, Seattle only has to move one. And that's important because they can keep everybody else where they are. But that one guy, we've seen it before, one guy at receiver can make all the difference. And if you have to look around for one receiver all the time, then you don't have to be as creative. So I think offensive coordinator wise, New England has the advantage. They can move around those receivers. But I think the advantage lies with Seattle, not only with pure talent, but because you got Jackson Smith-Njigba, if you move him around, you're not going to be able to stop that.
I believe the Patriots do have the corners to limit JSN, maybe even stop him altogether. But we'll get to that when we get to the corners later in the show because JSN's been the best receiver in the league this year. I think he was player of the game 4 times, which is the most among any one individual wide receiver. So that should tell you how dominant he's been this
year. JSN's just that good. So, I mean, it will take a heck of an effort from New England to stop him. Not saying New England can't stop him, but it's going to take a heck of an effort.
I feel like Gonzalez can stop him, but we'll get to that when we get to the corners. I want to get to the tight ends. William, what are your closing thoughts?
The thing here is the fact that Drake May is spreading around the ball. What these stats are showing is the fact that he is spreading around the ball. It didn't appear so much, to the layman's eye, that the wide receivers were doing much in New England, but that's just because there was only so much to go around, and it's one of those things. That's what good quarterbacks do. They hone their weapons. They use their weapons, the contested catch rate, all that, the top 2 receivers. It's like they're, doing absolutely beautifully, but, going along with the coaching of it, I definitely agree that Kubiak, the advantage he has is going back in that coaching tree, back Shanahan, back to, Bill Walsh, back to all that kind of stuff. But obviously, JSN, he's, like Chris said, the best receiver in the league this last year, and it was just that simple. He was just that dominant. That's why I drafted him in the fantasy football league, in the 3rd round. And I love what the Patriots are doing. So let's get on with tight ends, man. I just wanted to throw that out there that Drake May and the Patriots receivers are completely underrated.
Yeah, I want to get to the tight ends here. And the advantage, I think, goes to New England. I'm not really high on Elijah Arroyo or A.J. Barner. Neither one of Seattle's tight ends impresses me. I know they're both on rookie deals. I know some people are high on both tight ends, but I think Hunter Henry Austin Hooper are the two best tight ends in this game. And I think New England has the clear advantage at tight end. If Nick Emanwari is less than 100%, I would not be surprised if Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper went off in this game.
Elijah Arroyo coming out of Miami, it was one of those things. He had an injury history, and he was just a serviceable tight end. I was kind of, peeking over like, what is Seattle doing here? But they obviously have the ability to run the two tight end sets with AJ Barner. I mean, he has been another serviceable, maybe borderline. I mean, good tight end, for what he's been. But this is another thing where, they're going to have to take advantage of the limited number of plays that each player gets. They're going to have to take advantage of those mismatches. And the New England Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper are just Austin Hooper was one of the best tight ends in the league a few years back, and he just kind of slowed down a little bit from there. But their experience is they're just the better pair.
Well, here's the thing. Austin Hooper, I watched him for enough years. I know he isn't that great. He is no better than anybody Seattle has. Probably a little worse, but he has sure hands. The big thing is, I look at Hunter Henry. I've been a huge Hunter Henry fan for years. He's the X factor when it comes to tight ends. The two Seattle tight ends, they're good, but they're slightly better than Austin Hooper, and they're raw. Austin Hooper is just reliable enough to make the catch, then trip over his own damn feet.
Arroyo wasn't even.
But at the same time, he will make the catch. So you can throw it to him from 5 yards out, you can throw it to him at 15 yards down the field. He'll catch the ball, then he'll fall down. But that 15 yards is still 15 yards.
Arroyo,
and Hunter Henry, he'll make the catch, and he'll make yards after the catch.
I know Hooper has struggled in previous years, but it really does feel like he's rebounded with New England this season.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it. Several years worth of underperforming.
I know he burned you on the Browns, Joey. That's why you've always been skeptical of him.
Atlanta. He had one good year at Atlanta, got a big contract, did absolutely nothing after that. Did absolutely nothing after he left Cleveland, and now he's having a good year with New England. What is that? 2 good years in 6 or 7? That's not a resurgence. That is 2 good years in 6 or 7 seasons.
Yeah,
okay.
So with this system,
I'm going to switch this back to Elijah Arroyo now. I mean, he wasn't even on my radar last year. As specializing in tight ends like I do, he probably would have been about tight end 8, somewhere in that range.
But he dominated the Senior Bowl. That's why he got picked in the 2nd round.
Yeah, and I think that just shows too much. There was too much injury history there. Not enough, actual ball. It was like, whatever. I just passed him on and went on to the next guy. After watching him, it's like he's a serviceable, borderline, good, could be good starter for a couple of years, but those injuries are going to catch up with them. It always does with tight ends. Tight end is one of the worst positions that there is on your body in the NFL. I mean, they have to do everything a left tackle does and everything a wide receiver does. They get paid half as much, and it's like they're definitely coming out. I mean, teams are taking advantage of all these guys now. I mean, there are. Last year, I had 4 first-round tight ends. Tight ends worthy of being picked in the 1st round. This year I've got 2 and 2 second-round tight ends. I mean, there are so many of these guys. I don't know. Austin Barner, another. That's not so much a workout warrior, just a Senior Bowl warrior. And I was like, okay. whatever. But I just had to go with that. I would kind of rather have AJ Barner starting than Asher Royal. So.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the offensive lines next.
Right.
I'll start with Seattle and then I'll go to New England. But yeah, two of Seattle's offensive linemen were player of the game this year, the tackles, Cross and Abraham Lucas. And four of New England's offensive linemen were player of the game. The only one that wasn't was Morgan Moses, and Joey would argue that was the best one of their group. So as far as the offensive line advantage, I'm going to give that to New England, but it varies by position, I think, because the Patriots haven't been as consistent in the playoffs as they have in the regular season in pass protection, but I do think they have the slightly better offensive line. I don't trust Seattle's center. Anthony Bradford Jr. has been a liability at right guard at times, but Zabel, Lucas, and Cross have been phenomenal for Seattle. Yeah, I know Zabel didn't win player of the game, but I know Seahawks fans were raving about his analytics and his PFF grades all season. Didn't give up any sacks. I paid attention. Okay, I paid attention to that. I wasn't the biggest Zabel fan coming out of North Dakota State. I had a second-round grade on him. I thought he was a reach at 15, but hey, I mean, he did well enough to where he had a good rookie year.
If that's their guy, that's their guy. You know, I don't argue with that. That's like Dan Campbell a couple of years ago. He took, you know, Jahmyr Gibbs a round ahead where I thought he should be picked, and Jack Campbell a round ahead of where I should have been picked. But, you know, it was like I was telling Daniel Kelly, I was like, I like his draft. You know, I mean, he got his players. You know, it's not a reach when you get your players. You know, I mean, it's one of those things. The Patriots have pretty much always done it, you know, and they've had some really questionable high round picks, and it's like, no, that's their guy. They would just want to make sure they get their guy. It's like that's what I do, you know, in drafts when I'm either simulating them or in rookie drafts in fantasy football. You know, I mean,
yeah, Jalen Sundell and Anthony Bradford at right guard. Those are the guys I have the least amount of confidence in Seattle's offensive line. And Bradford's going to have to go up against Milton Williams, and Zabel's going to have to go up against Barmore. I would probably run it towards Barmore, but it's a lose-lose scenario either way if you're Seattle, because I think Zabel's got a better chance to neutralize Barmore than Bradford does Milton Williams. But at the same time, it's a lose-lose proposition, William. Because if you run to the left, you're gonna rely on Walker to get by Barmore, break and take the right angle. And if you run to the right, you're gonna rely on him to take the right angle and get by Milton Williams. It's a daunting task either way you spin it.
For sure. You know, I was talking about this game being up to Drake May, but you know, this game is also going to be decided by what happens here in the trenches. You know, and
I'll get to New England's offensive line in a second, William, but I'm just breaking down Seattle's offensive line. I'm breaking down each line one by one.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying the game's going to be won in the trenches, and
I agree with that.
I agree with that. So
I think it's really interesting because I think with Seattle, it's going to be about, because I know you say you're going to get to New England line in a minute, but I think New England has a big push in the middle of their defensive line. So I think it's going to be contingent on how effective Seattle is at stringing things out around the tackle. Because I think that's where New England's weakness lies. If you try to just beat your nose up against Barmore, that's probably not going to be the best strategy you could possibly come up with. But if they string it out around the edges, their offensive line is good across the board. And they may be able to take advantage of that situation where New England usually uses the pass rush on that end, whereas Seattle has the bigger guys that can push pass rushers around. So it really, I think, comes down to the effectiveness of Seattle's offensive line to be, and not only the offensive line, but of the game plan to be able to string those things outside. Because if they try to push up against Baltimore, they're going to lose. Because the interior of the New England defensive line, I think, is more than enough.
Yeah, New England's got two really good, two arguably the top 534 defensive ends in the league right now, with Barmore and Williams. So going up against either one in a one-on-one situation feels like a losing proposition.
Yeah. So it's going to take what Seattle's going to have to get that thing outside, because if you go in there and you think, I'm just going to beat them into submission, oh, hell no, it ain't going to work that way.
Yeah, so and if you double team Barmore or Williams and you put the center on, because I'm guessing the left guard Zabel's going to go up against the 34 right and Barmore, and Bradford's going to go up against Milton Williams. If you put Sundell, the center, on Barmore or Williams to double team them, you can't do that because that opens things up for the nose tackle, Kairos Tonga, who's had some moments.
And I do like Tonga. So, I think Tonga has a very bright future. I think he is underrated. So that's not great either. You're going to have to get outside. If you can't get outside, you're not going to run effectively.
Yeah.
Because these guys on New England are going to shut you down. So this is where I go with Shanahan and I say, dude, what are you going to do to get this running game going? Because your entire offense depends on your running game. And you can't man up against these guys on New England front. So I know Seattle's offensive line is athletic enough to do it. I know they're skilled enough to do it. But can Shanahan draw it up well enough to make it happen? That's the question.
Yeah, and if Landry and Chason both play at edge rusher, the tackles are going to have their work cut out for them too. But I still give Seattle's offensive tackles the advantage because Seattle, Denver, and Jacksonville were the only three teams that have both their offensive tackles win player of the game this season. So that's why I would still give Seattle's offensive tackles the edge over New England's edge rushers. And it pains me to do that as a Patriots fan, but I have to be objective in my analysis. But I do think Landry and Chason can get some hurries, get some pressures on Darnold too, though. We'll see.
Yeah. That's going to have a big effect right there, I mean, because he's not as mobile as May is, and
we want to get to New England's offensive line now.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we'll get to New England's offensive line. Will Campbell at left tackle, Jared Wilson at left guard, Bradbury at center, Onwenu at right guard, and Morgan Moses at right tackle. They do have Verdarian Lowe and Thayer Munford Jr. for depth at offensive tackle, and they can use those guys as a sixth tackle because we've seen New England play six offensive linemen at different times in jumbo packages through these playoffs. So that's the thing. And I'm guessing when Seattle plays cover 6 in a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2 situation, New England's going to bring out that sixth lineman and try to get the extra yards.
Yeah, and, Will Campbell is – I saw a couple analysts dogging on him the other day. They're like, oh, yeah, he started out good, but then, the last few weeks of the season, talking about him, it's like, that's just because you guys, put that much into the alligator arm thing, T-Rex arms, whatever you want to call them, and I mean, no one was complaining about it while he was at LSU, until he got measured, and that's just like he said, and I love Will Campbell. I mean, just his attitude as a player, and he wants to play tackle. He's a tackle, I mean, just let that offensive line gel. don't go back on it because you might have been wrong on him during the draft, and
And
it's
I'm right with you, William. I love Will Campbell too, and I think that, and I agree with you that you need to let the offensive line go. And let's be honest, I'll say the same thing about him as I say about Drake May. They're young guys. They're going to make their mistakes. They're going to have little inconsistencies,
growing pains.
and you know what? They're going to rebound because they're talented players. And so I can see if they let that line gel together, I agree with you. It's going to be a very good offensive line for several years to come.
Yep. Second coming of the Patriot way, man. It's
Yep,
just
and
one
I
of those
think the
things. So.
Patriots. Will Campbell, he only
And
gave up
he's
5
better to
sacks in the
bring
regular
that up
season.
than Mike Rabel, who was very entrenched in the Patriot way.
Yeah. All the way, and up to when he caught a touchdown, against Panthers in the Super Bowl. I mean, that was up until then the greatest Super Bowl that there was. I mean, it just went back and forth, just watching, the Lone Fire and Brady, and I mean,
Yeah, and all the
so,
Patriots' old Super Bowls, I think outside of Super Bowl 36 are on Amazon Prime. Super Bowl 38 is on Amazon Prime. Super Bowl 39 is on Amazon Prime. Super Bowl 49 is on Amazon Prime. Super Bowl 51 is on Amazon Prime. I even have the DVD for that one. And Super Bowl 53 is also on Amazon Prime. So there are the Giants Super Bowl wins over the Patriots are there. The Chiefs, the Eagles, they have a lot of the Super Bowl champions. Like they used to have DVDs and VHSs for the Super Bowl champions that you could buy. Now they have them on streaming services like Amazon Prime. So you can go back and rewatch those Super Bowl winning teams, what they did. It's fun, but I think Campbell, he only gave up 5 sacks in the regular season. People want to look at, he's been sluggish in the playoffs. No, that's part of the growing pains. And he didn't give up any sacks against Denver 2 weeks ago. So if he plays like that, New England should be able to win this game. I'm not saying he'll play like that for all 60 minutes. Rookies go through growing pains, but if he does play like that, I think New England should end up winning this game. But Jared Wilson, same thing as a rookie left guard. Bradbury and Wilson's going to end up playing against, it depends. If Seattle runs a nickel defense, he's going to be facing Leonard Williams. If they run a 34 defense, he's going to be facing Jerron Reed. Because Jerron Reed is the 34 right end when Seattle only deploys 4 defensive backs. When they deploy 5 or 6, Reed is a bench player, but when they only deploy 4 defensive backs, Jerron Reed's the 34 right end. Byron Murphy's the nose tackle. The 34 left end's Leonard Williams. So both Onwenu and Wilson are going to have to be accountable for Williams. Bradbury's going to be going up against Byron Murphy.
The nickel is about the most used defense for however many of the last years. And I mean, obviously they're going to have to use a lot of that because of the way that, that Drake May, again,
I'd give New England the offensive line
know?
advantage, but you could argue that Seattle warrants it just if you're looking at just the consistency of what the tackles have done for Seattle in the playoffs. But I'm going to give it to New England because everyone outside of Moses was player of the game at least once. When New England beat the Ravens, I think we had all 3 interior linemen and Drake May were player of the game, co-players of the game. So I really think New England has the stronger interior.
Yeah, and that they do. I mean, it's pretty apparent, but I mean, it's a big reason why these teams have turned around like they have and had the success that they've had this year and had some of the best players on both sides. Like I said, it all starts up front, and I definitely give it to the Patriots. I mean, just looking at who they have, and the upside, and just how these players are still gelling, and this could be the game that sets that forth for both teams, in the trenches.
I agree.
So.
You want to say anything about New England's offensive line, Joey, before we get to the defensive lines for both teams?
I thought I did.
All right.
It's like because they've got a good mix of youth and experience, and thought I agree with William. Hey,
Two
it's run
free
great
agents, two draft picks, two rookies, two free agents, and one staple of the team in Michael Onwenu. One staple, one guy that New England drafted that feels like he's on the brink of becoming a veteran. So it's the right blend,
Yep.
All right. So next up, we'll talk about the defensive lines. I'm going to start with Seattle. I kind of already previewed this a little bit when I talked about but offensive line advantage, I'm going to go New England. Defensive line advantage. If Seattle played Jerron Reed more, this would be kind of a push for me. And you could definitely argue Seattle has the defensive line advantage because you look at their three starters, Jerron Reed, Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy. You look at New England's three starters, Milton Williams, Barmore, Tonga. You can make the argument because Murphy's better than Tonga, Seattle's D-line gets the advantage. But Seattle has used nickel sets more than they've used three defensive line sets this year, whereas New England, they've ran a fine medium of three defensive linemen and three corners. They've ran a fine balance, a fine medium of both. And a lot of it comes down to the situation there. If it's third and long, they'll go nickel. If it's third and short, they'll play two corners, and they'll bank on that interior to win the battle in the trenches. So I would give New England the systematic advantage, but you could definitely, because I feel like they use their 34 personnel more frequently than Seattle, but you could definitely argue on talent alone that Seattle should get the advantage in this category.
Rick, I think you hit it on the head right there. It's all systematic because technically Seattle might run a 3-4. Realistically, they run a 4-3. It's the way
defense, right?
Basically the same thing with who, depending on who they have in that nickel. I know sometimes they put a more aggressive person up there that basically acts like a wide 9 defensive end. It's something that I'm used to seeing. It happens, but it doesn't happen as much as it used to. So I'm looking at it in this thought process. Which defensive philosophy can neutralize the slot? Both teams have really good slot receivers. Which defensive philosophy hits that? Because the front four, New England sits with those basic three who are damn good, as we stated. Seattle has those three, but rotates the base four guy, whether it be a bigger linebacker, a bigger corner, a smaller corner, and they run that one position in a situation where New England has to account for it. So it comes to me and I say, hey, when it comes to the front, is which front stands the more schematic advantage. Because overall talent wise, I think it's Seattle. Front three wise, I think it's New England. But overall, it really comes down to the schematical scheme. Because both of them are highly talented. Which scheme is going to hold the other team's running game and their slot receiver in check? Because that might be the key to both teams' offense. If
Yep.
one defensive front seven holds the other group in check, that might be all we need.
Yep.
We don't have Alan Vinatieri coming up here these days, man. I mean, we don't have those big time kickers in the game right now. So, there's no telling what's going to happen outside of we're going to have to shut down these things, these positions, and who's going to be the ones to shut them down.
Yep. And then that gets us to the edge rush, the 34 outside linebackers. We'll get to the middle linebackers in a second. It's hard to. I think Seattle has more depth on the edge because they have Murphy, they have Nwosu and Lawrence as their starting edges, I believe. The backups are Derek Hall and Boy Mafe. But New England's got the better 1-2 punch in Landry and Chason. Both of them, when they're healthy, they get to the quarterback more frequently. But Seattle has more bodies, and more bodies means you have a better chance of wearing down the tackles as the game progresses. So that's what makes this edge rusher matchup versus the tackles very appealing to me, Joey, because I think Landry and Chason are more consistent in terms of getting to the quarterback, but with four different guys and four different depth players at edge rusher, Nwosu, Derek Hall, with those four guys that you got to account for in every play, you have a chance to wear down. If you use those guys correctly, you can wear down Campbell and Moses as the game progresses. And if Seattle's going to win this, they are going to have to wear down the tackles with their edge rushers.
Coming out of college, I mean, we're a little bit more overrated than I think. Oh, Boy Mafi was probably, picked in the right place because,
great pass rusher coming out of
injury.
Minnesota, but a horrible run stuffer. That was the thing with Boy Mafe. That's why he's the number 4 on Seattle now.
And then having that injury history, so I mean, it's
that too as well. But yeah,
so Derek Hall coming out of Auburn, he was good.
Seattle had a first round grade on him.
Will McDonald.
They did. They reported that the day after he got drafted, they had a first round grade on Derek Hall. I didn't
about that. Something's clicking in my brain about it, but I mean, is just it's in the upside, but just what I see in these guys. So I mean, yeah, they're coming in and doing the work, doing everything else. I mean, they're capable, but yeah, New England definitely gets the edge.
Yeah.
And one matchup I think people are overlooking that we may need to look more at: Henderson versus Moffett. Because both of them are backups. One runs to the outside, one plays on the outside. If Moffett misses the tackle, Henderson may go. And then at the same time, Moffett may stop Henderson behind the line. And that could change sometime late in the game if both of them are on the field at the same time. That matchup may change the course of a drive or perhaps the game itself.
Good pass rusher, terrible run stuffer.
That was pretty much my assessment of Boy Mafe coming out of Minnesota. But the inside linebackers,
But that's why I say the athletic ability, get them both there. That's what I say. Moife makes the tackle. Moife misses the tackle. I mean, that is basically what it is. Because the two are going to meet.
Advantage New England.
There's New England, yes. But we had to bring it up either way.
Right.
yeah, 'cause Seattle has more depth at the edge rusher group, and if they wear down New England's tackles, they have a chance. That's all.
Agreed.
Seattle's linebackers, they have Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight, but they benched Tyrese Knight. New England has Spillane, who's been steady even dating back to his time with the Steelers, and they've got Christian Ellis. I'm going to give New England the middle linebacker advantage here. I think the middle linebacker position is the kryptonite of Seattle's defense. And if you can win those one-on-one battles in the trenches against Seattle's interior defensive line, you're going to have Stevenson, you're going to have Henderson, you're going to have Drake May on running plays against those Seattle inside linebackers. And I think the offensive players can win the one-on-ones against Seattle's linebackers.
About Seattle's inside linebackers is that they can be amazing one game, and then they can be absolute dog crap the next. I mean, they are so inconsistent. I mean,
Seattle.
I want them to actually show up on a big stage. And they haven't done that yet. They can't put a consistent 2 to 3 game stretch together. It irritates me, but at the same time, I can't say they're an advantage for anything because I don't know which defensive middle linebackers are going to show up. Is it going to be the guys that sit there and put the hurting on you? Or is it going to be the guys that stand back and say, well, I don't want to do it this week? So I want to give Seattle the advantage, but at the same time, I can't because they don't give me anything to give them the advantage for.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Spillane was out in the AFC title game, and they were still able to heat Denver in check. And we'll see. The next position is going to be the corners. This is where it's kind of even. Seattle's 3-man cornerback group. You have Josh Jobe at nickel, Tariq Woolen at the boundary, and Devin Witherspoon is your number 1 field corner. New England, they've got Christian Gonzalez as their number 1. Carlton Davis, a corner, had a Pro Bowl grade on coming out of Auburn, won a Super Bowl with Tampa as their number 1 corner. He's now a number 2 corner, but a very good number 2 corner. And then you got Marcus Jones in the nickel, who got a $12 million extension earlier in the season. So New England has a very good 3 cornerback set as well. And
yeah, I think this is even across the board. I'm just going to say, now, I think this is between Seattle and New England on their corners. I think they're even across the board. I like both groups.
You know, and they've had equally as good success drafting a cornerback high and bringing in some young guys, you know, and it's, you know, it's definitely a push. It's like even, man, you know, Witherspoon and Gonzalez, I mean, were arguably the top.
They're both cornerback
class. Yeah. So.
It's like I think this is one of the first Super Bowls in 20 years where at least I have had more than one position that's just a flat push, or with one guy dominating everybody else, such as Hunter Henry over the other tight end. It's like this is a very even Super Bowl overall, and I think the next group is going to be the group that determines the game. So, Chris, put them on us.
I'm looking at these I'm trying to look at the grades here. Both teams' number 2 corners have Pro Bowl grades. 92.5 is Woolen's PFF grade. So, yeah, those are both Pro Bowl numbers for number 2 corners, Davis and Woolen. And then the nickels, Josh Jobe for Seattle, Marcus Jones for New England. The nickel corners might be the X factor here because number 1 and number 2 corners are even across the board for both teams.
This is so much of an
But I would
underrated
give Marcus
reason why
Jones
these
a
teams are
landslide
here.
advantage at nickel. A landslide advantage at nickel corner.
Yeah.
And that's why
Another-
I'm going New England by the slimmest of margins. But the irony is Josh Jobe and Marcus Jones, I think they were both teammates on the Houston Cougars when they were drafted.
Yeah.
Or maybe Josh Jobe's a little older, but
I'm
I know
looking
they
at
played for Houston.
different X factor than you are, Chris. I'm looking at the safeties.
We're going to get to the safeties in a second, Joey. We're going to get to them.
Well, you just brought up the X factor thing, and what we're coming, it's like my determination is the safeties. I think the safeties are going to have the biggest impact on this game, not the nickel corners. I think the nickel corners, are, to your credit, are going to be highly influential. But I think the safeties are going to have the most impact.
We'll see. But the safeties, New England, they've got Craig Woodson. Wait, we got to get to Seattle's safeties first. Nick Eamon-Warry's a game-time decision. He suffered a leg injury in practice on Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday, limited practice Friday. He says he's going to play. I believe him, but I don't think he's going to be 100%. And I think that's going to allow New England to attack that strong safety area, because if Eamon-Warry doesn't play, what's the backup? Because, I mean, Eamon-Warry and Love both missed a lot of the season, and then they both came back in the home stretch. So that's what I'm saying. Seattle
dominated my
was
Niners.
not great in the early part of the season because they had to rely on Julian Love and Kobe Bryant for the early part of the season, and they may have to rely on those two again because our lads has Nick Eamon-Warry listed as a nickel corner instead of safety. So if they play Eamon-Warry in the nickel and they play Julian Love and Kobe Bryant at safety, I think it goes from being if Eamon-Warry plays at safety, I'd give Seattle the safety advantage. But if he's playing at nickel corner and they go with Love and Bryant, I would say it's a push at safety as well as corner.
So I also put it this way, because I believe this is your thing when it comes to depth. I believe Seattle had the most safety depth in the NFL this year.
No, they do not. They do not. That is false, Joey.
I thought they did.
They have no depth behind Julian Love, and their backups to Eamon-Warry and Kobe Bryant, Ty Okada, an undrafted free agent in 2023. So they are actually one of the thinner teams at safety in the league.
I love Kobe Bryant, so maybe that's just me.
Yeah, they've got Bryant, they've got Eamon-Warry, they've got Julian Love. They've got 3 quality safeties, but both Eamon-Warry and Love missed the first 10 weeks of the season with injuries.
Well, here's the thing. If Eamon-Warry goes down to nickel, that upgrades Seattle's nickel. And more than likely, he's also going to play safety. So that actually gives Seattle a little bit of diversity in how they work their safety and nickel corner situations. So the situation, it wouldn't be ideal for Seattle, but I think I love the depth Seattle had, and how they could go 4 and 5 deep.
Seattle's very top heavy. They're not deep. They've got Pritchett and Josh Jobe. They're deep at corner. They're not deep at safety.
Kobe Bryant is a depth player, and he is good. I mean,
he's actually Bryant's listed as the free safety. Love's listed as a strong safety. Eamon-Warry's listed at nickel, and the backups to Bryant and Love are Ty Okada, and they don't have a 4th backup at safety. So I would argue the depth is very thin compared to
listing for Kobe Bryant, because I know he played free safety, but also know he played strong safety. So
yeah,
the listing, considering Eamon-Warry's injury, the listing is interesting.
It is. Love. I have Love listed as the free safety. and Bryant listed as the strong safety, but our lads has Bryant listed as the free safety. So I don't know what the correct terminology is. They're probably going to play all three of those guys in different looks throughout the night. But I don't, I would give New England the cornerback edge, safety edge. I'd give to Seattle, but I think it's a lot closer than people think. I think Woodson's had a very good year. Jalen Hawkins, he can play deep, and I
agree with you, Chris. I think it's going to be so close. I think it may end up coming down to one play, and I think it's going to be coming down to one play by one of the safeties. So it's whether it's Seattle or New England. So I mean, that's why I say I think the safety position is going to come down to who wins the game. It just depends on which safety makes the play.
Mm-hmm. Kicker, I've got
whichever one of these position groups breaks down is going to be the one that decides the game. And with you saying that or is injured, that just absolutely puts a flashing light over here, red flag saying, oh yeah, it's this one over here. These guys are going to decide the game, and
it's a lower ankle injury on the lower leg. So,
and it should tell you something. Carson Schwarzenegger won Defense Rookie of the Year. Who came in second? I think is the only other guy with first place vote who was number 2.
Nick Eamon-Warry would have won Defensive Rookie of the Year if he played all 16 games, because Nick Eamon-Warry was the player of the game on Draft Utopia this year. Carson Schwarzenegger wasn't. So if Nick Eamon-Warry plays all 16 games, I think he wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. I don't think you can dispute that.
What and everything doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is who the other person. There are only 2 players, if I'm correct, that got first place votes. Eamon-Warry got first place votes. That says something, and that says something about Eamon-Warry. That says what he is, who he is, and
he would have won if he played all 16 games. There was zero doubt about that in my mind.
I got to see who he was up close and personal, watching him, when they dominated the Niners.
Okay, Williams going to go to the games, and he's going to game tackle Eamon-Warry just to see who he is. Because Williams is a badass that way.
Both these kickers have been consistent, steady. Andres Borregales, and Jason Myers have both been very consistent at kicker. I mean, Borregales was my top kicker in the 2025 NFL draft, and Jason Myers has always been steady for Seattle. So I think the kicker is a push. That is the one position I would say is a push, is kicker. So what's the final score for this game going to be? I've got 27-24 Patriots. I've got Seattle leading late, but I have Drake May throwing a game-winning touchdown to Diggs. I also think Christian Gonzalez will record the only interception of the game for New England. So that's kind of why. And I've got May throwing the ball to Diggs for a touchdown with like 30 seconds left. It's going to be like when Plaxico beat the Patriots. That's what Seattle's going to experience. When Plaxico beat the Patriots and ruined our undefeated season, that's how I think the game's going to end. May throws a touchdown to Diggs with 30 seconds left. The Patriots gain the lead. They're up 27-24, and Darnold just doesn't have enough time to get Seattle into field goal range.
With that exact same conclusion about what was going to happen, May throwing one over the top at the end of the game. I mean, I think it's just one of those things, and I mean, I have my final score at 31-21. That late touchdown is
I initially had New England winning 28-17, but I dialed back on that. I dialed back on that score.
And I dialed forward on it. So.
No, you had 43-20 in the meme you posted after Oren posted the 23-20 Seahawks score.
Oh, yeah.
You posted 43-20 Patriots. You dialed back from that to go to 31-21.
Well, that was
While
a
you're
joke.
dialing forward from my score, you're dialing backward from your original score,
No.
me.
I was trying to poke Oren on that one. You know,
To be
Gavin
fair,
would have been
Oren's
the at
Super Bowl
Seattle
record
winning.
is 2-8 or 2-7. Since Super Bowl 50, he has only
Sounds like
predicted
mine.
2 Super Bowl winners: the Rams in 56 and the Eagles in 59. And since he got the Super Bowl winner right last year, not going to roast him for that.
Well, I just got to go with the opposite
You're
of
poking
who
Oren.
I want to win, and that'll be the team that wins. And it's pretty simple. Even though the team I want to win, I always pick them, and that's why I have such a bad record. You know, I just do it out of spite because you know that's the team I want to win.
William, it's quite rude of you to poke Oren when Oren hasn't had his whiskey. It's quite rude of you to do it at that point in time. Because, you know, it's gotta wait till he's had a little bit of whiskey in him and get him going.
Yeah, but like I said, I just had to. You know, he had Seattle winning. It's like, man, everybody wants Seattle to win. You know, it's just because they hate the Patriots so much.
Exactly.
You know? It's like, what happened to that website? You know, yourteamcheats.com. You know, every time somebody mentioned the Patriots cheating, it was like, you know, the only ones that get caught are the ones they want to get caught. It's like, why don't you go on here? The website doesn't exist anymore, but it did, and it had, you know, everything from salary cap violations, you know, like Denver Broncos on down, and it was like, you know, every team, you know, had something on there pretty much, you know, and
Yeah,
they
I
just
agree
don't
with
want the
you.
Patriots to win, and I'm actually, you know, I'm rooting so bad for the Patriots, you know, I mean, that's probably why they're going to lose the game, but.
And I agree with William to the degree that most team scandals are stupid and minor, and it's things everybody does. And it's like I can look back and I say one of the dumbest cheating scandals where they punish a team was the sign stealing scandal. I used to be a third base coach, and I'm like, everybody freaking steals signs. And that's a thing because guess what? When you're looking at it through the bullpen, what are you looking at? They're looking at some dude on the third base side signing. And you're like, oh, so they're
Okay,
doing that.
so
And so
Spygate,
the cheating is what happened. Spygate, that was stupid. You know, it's
a memo out. It
that was a
wasn't necessarily against the rules, but they had just recently sent a memo out telling teams not to do it. You know, and then
yeah.
the Patriots, you know, obviously just
That's why
get
it was
caught doing
stupid because it was like you got the memo right there. That's like taking a drug test. We, you know,
it,
they send
knowing
you a
that
memo.
you have it.
Drug test will happen 3 days later, and you're like,
Yep.
guess what? I got to prepare for this with a big old fatty. It's, oh, it's like no, don't do it. You know, that was just stupid on their part. I mean, come on, they said don't do this. We're gonna do it.
That's like
I
Randy
we'll
Gregory,
do
you know, knowing he was getting a drug test, you know, and at the combine, then he wonders, and then he shows up and fails. It's like, really?
it. Yeah. You know what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
It's
you
like,
just cost yourself millions of dollars, man, and a career. I mean, Gregory was a great pass rusher,
Yeah,
just
and it
terrible run
sounds like
support.
the backup nose tackle Joshua Farmer is going to be activated off of IR. So Corey Durden won't be the backup nose tackle to Tonga, which means you can use him for depth in 5 technique, or you can have him as a third stringer. But either way, it's there's 2 things I wanted to touch on: the referee for this game, and the other thing I was
before the game.
before I get to the referee and the scores for the game, one thing I was watching Sonic this morning, and the plot of the Paramount movie with Jim Carrey is Sonic is ring chasing in San Francisco, which is ironic because that's exactly what the Seahawks and the Patriots are doing. They're ring chasing in San Francisco. And is there I think there was a subtle hint in the movie too, because I saw 7 rings dropping on the floor when Sonic hit the tree. Seven rings are on the floor. The Patriots can win number 7 if they beat Seattle on Sunday.
That was a stupid
Yeah.
freaking. Why couldn't you have brought up a good movie?
They made 3 Sonic movies.
And they
They
all
made
suck.
3 of them. They're gonna make a 4th one.
And it's gonna suck too.
Did all the John Wick movies suck? I'm just asking. They made 4 of those.
Well, at
I
least
mean,
the dog didn't
this
die in all of them, you know. And I mean, it was like first they killed the dog, man. It's like
Yeah,
fuck
once
this
they
movie.
killed
It
Johnny
was like,
Dog in that movie,
Oh,
he went on a rampage.
yeah, fuck this movie, dude. It's like,
kill the dog. It's like,
don't kill the dog, man. It's like
this is stupid.
they did that in this Liam Neeson movie not too long ago. I'm like, that's terrible. I turned it off, dude. It's like just on principle. It's like, don't kill the dog, man.
Don't kill the dog. Please. Liam Neeson's a badass in himself. Like, kill a rat or something. You know, it's like Liam Neeson's definitely gonna say that rat did not deserve to be kicked. I am gonna kick your ass. That's all we need. I mean, there are some things that just don't need to be happening to make people believe it. It's like, don't kill the fucking dog. Just leave the dog alone.
Yeah.
Leave the four-legged canine and the four-legged companions alone. You can do something just better. I swear. Don't get lazy. Unless you're killing those fucking Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Please kill them. I don't want to see any more of that shit.
Well, they're probably going to make like 5 or 6 of them because people love them.
Why?
Like, because it's a cash grab for Paramount, Joey. It's a cash grab for Paramount. Just like the Avatar movies, they're a cash grab. They made 4 Avatar movies now. Or they
You can
made
only
3
have
and
three
the
back
4th one.
before people stop watching them.
Yeah. I haven't seen it past the first one. I watched the first one in the theater, and that was it, man.
I watched the 2nd and 3rd one with my brother.
Well, that works too. You know what I mean?
Why would you subject yourself to such a bad situation? Just watch the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. You'll see everything and you'll see it better.
Well, they were airing that movie on Nickelodeon this morning before the podcast, so I was watching it again.
My God. Nickelodeon
I
has
love
become
Sonic movies. I can't help myself. I love Sonic movies, but we'll get to the referee matchup now. Sean Smith is reffing in this game. Seahawks are 2-5 all time in games officiated by Sean Smith. They are 0-5 against the spread when favored. So, and I do think this is the thing. If Sean Smith allows New England to grab JSN the entire game and they don't call any penalties for getting too handsy, people are going to be pissed, but they're still going to say, it's Sean Smith's first Super Bowl. He's still, what he's doing in this game is a misdemeanor compared to what Ron Torbert's done in Super Bowls.
Dude, I'm going to say this once because I know it's not good to say things that are technically cheating that you can get away with. You know, even though I did it for over 10 years as a player. But if they're grabbing you and such, what is the one thing that will get them to stop doing it? When you go up and you try to get underneath them, just swing your arm back, hit him in the fucking face with an elbow. They'll stop grabbing you real fucking quick, especially if you hit them in the chin. And then you keep going.
In Seattle's one playoff win under Sean Smith, they were penalized 11 times for 110 yards. If they are penalized that frequently versus New England, they will not win, Joey.
Well, if you make it painful for them to start grabbing and putting stuff like that, they're going to stop doing it. Believe me, I did it for years.
Yeah.
They stopped doing things because I made it hurt for them, quite literally. But it's not against the rules.
I played safety. And when a receiver came across the middle, the first time they came across the middle, man, just lay him out. And you won't want to cross the middle the next time. You know, it was simple. And that's what I said with the Patriots and when they played the Rams in the Super Bowl in 2001. You know, I said, smack them in the mouth. That's all they got to do. As soon as they go to cross the middle, smack them in the mouth. That's what the Patriots did. They won.
Yeah, it's like Chris is there at the bar with me when we watch games and such. And what was the one thing I said, Chris? I just stand up and yell, knock them on their ass. Guess what? You knock them on their ass a couple times. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to start avoiding doing things. They're going to get knocked on their ass. They're going to stop getting things that are going to hit them in the mouth with an elbow. They're going to stop doing things that's going to get them laid out over the middle. It's like, it is not a difficult. It may be difficult for the younger guys to figure out, but for guys like us who have been through it and done it, it's like.
Well, I didn't have the right name to play quarterback, so I took out my aggression on the quarterbacks when I was playing linebacker and the receivers when I was playing safety.
I do have breaking news on a coaching hire. Seth Ryan, the son of Rex Ryan, grandson of Buddy Ryan, has been hired as the Detroit Lions passing game coordinator. He leaves the New York Jets. He leaves the New York Jets as tight ends coach. He gets promoted to passing game coordinator for the Lions. I don't know if he will be passing game coordinator on offense or defense after being the tight ends coach for what is it? The LSU tight end, Mason Taylor. After being the tight ends coach for Mason Taylor on the Jets, he's going to go to Detroit. So,
hey, everybody gets an opportunity. He's been good at what he's done. He deserves the opportunity. He's getting the opportunity. So we'll see what he does with it. I've heard some speculation on coaching hires, but there's nothing concrete, and there's a bunch of crap involved in it. In a couple of those different speculations, so I will hold my opinion to myself at the moment until things become clearer. But that is a really nice. I think it's a really nice hire. I really do.
My ears perked up when I heard Chris say grandson of Buddy Ryan, and my ears perked up, and then I hear
son of Rex Ryan,
coordinator in offensive coach, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? Ryan playing offense?
That's right.
Yeah,
and then you coach for the Jets,
and then you said
Taylor's coach,
and then you said tight end coach, and it just set together the trifecta of, dude, I like that hire.
Ryan punched it one time.
I got to see what this guy is all about now. I really like that. A Ryan playing offense, being an offensive coach. I love it.
Also, the legal charges against Gavin McKenna have been dropped, William. The hockey player we were talking about, the legal charges were dropped. So no charges against him because the lawyer probably found out the person who was instigating Gavin McKenna's mother, they were drunk. They left the bar and then they instigated McKenna outside of the bar. So that's why. And the lawyer basically knew.
I said it would.
The lawyer basically knew he'd have to. The defendant would have to bring that up in court, and they didn't want to go to court, so the charges got dropped. So.
But they weren't even. They were going after Gavin McKenna's mother. Like, is she like a looker?
Guy in a bar calling Gavin McKenna's mother a whore, and he wouldn't stop. So Gavin McKenna basically just knocked his teeth in.
Well, is she good looking?
Knowing he was who he was, or was just being drunk and
was
stupid,
good looking or not. But you just don't say that about someone's mom.
Something to do that. I know it's his mom, and I know the thing, but I'm looking for why would he be saying something so inflammatory? Was she just good looking and rejected him?
I don't know.
It's like that.
He knew who he was, Gavin McKenna. Maybe he was a little bit
trying
jealous.
to get money from him. It's a cash grab.
Cash grab.
Yeah. Maybe he's in it for a cash grab.
That's exactly right. Right where I said it would. It was like, wait a minute. You said, and then you said bar, and then you said, horror.
Yeah, that's what got me.
Like, okay.
Because when you're in a bar, it's like somebody who spent as much time in bars as I have, we know one thing. It's like there are going to be people hitting on other people. And there are going to be people upset when those other people reject them. So was Gavin McKenna's mom a looker and this dude was hitting on her? and he got upset because she
Gavin
rejected.
is only 18. He can't go into a bar without a legal guardian. So that's the other thing to take into consideration. Hockey players are 18 when they get drafted.
Well, his mother is quite the legal guardian, don't you think? I mean, she's been his legal guardian for a long time. So
in case everyone is drunk and.
Well, Penn State was coming off a heartbreaking loss to Michigan State last Saturday when this incident took place.
So it is so heartbreaking. You hit on the guy's mom rejects him, and then he punches you in the face, and you get so upset that you sue him, and everything is dropped because you were hitting on his fucking mom.
Yeah, while you were drunk.
That's basically the way it went. I can look at it right there. His mom's a looker. Dude was hitting on her. She rejected him. He called her a fucking whore. McKenna punched the fuck out of him. And that's where we are here. There's the bottom line for you. It's like, that is just me being in bars for some 20 years. I can tell you exactly how it went down.
And everyone's saying this mess will actually increase his draft stock because now people will know he's not a pushover and he's got backbone. So I agree with that.
And people
draft him 100% now, knowing he's not a pushover just like that.
Well, I'm going to look at it like this. People question, whether some of my thought processes are right because I've been in a bar so much. Well, guess what, bitches? I just told you how this shit goes down in a bar. But guess what? What are you going to do? Huh? Like, I just told you exactly what's going on. Now you're going to criticize me for that?
Teammates restrained him in the restaurant, and then when they left the restaurant, the guy ran into McKenna and his mom again, and the victim followed McKenna and his mom into the parking lot. And that's where Gavin punched the dude in the parking lot outside the bar.
Gavin, I'm gonna fuck you up. What is that song? What do you mean by not? He's gonna knock you down or fuck you up or something like that.
There's a song by Doe Snout and Burns, a rapper from Pittsburgh, and the song is called "Fuck You Up." Kid, I'm gonna fuck you up, bitch. I'm gonna fuck you up. It's a song by Doe Snout and Burns. He was in the '90s before Eminem.
Yeah, it's like I think that's the song I was thinking about. It's like, knock you out, fuck you up. Just going at it like this. It's like, I think that's what I was thinking about. That's what Gavin McKenna was doing.
LL Cool J. Mama said knock you out. Is that the one?
Mama said knock, yeah. It's like, I got permission. Bitch. What about you?
Yeah. Like I said, no, man. This guy raised his draft stock, in my opinion. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like, I would, well, how do you raise your draft stock more than number one? But I guess now nobody's going to even think about trading that number one spot because it's like, you want more money, Mr. McKenna? We can raise it up a few million if you sign this long-term extension that you haven't even signed the regular contract.
Here's the other crazy part. We found out yesterday the Florida Panthers first-round pick that they traded the Chicago Blackhawks is top 10 protected. And currently entering the Olympic break, the Florida Panthers sit at 10th in the draft order. There are 4 NHL teams with winning records picking in the top 10 this year from pick 7 to 10 at the moment. Isn't that insane, Joey, that there are 4 teams with winning records in the bottom 10?
It is. That's not something that we're really used to. If you get a winning record, you're usually not in the bottom 10 or in the top 10 of the draft or bottom 10 teams in the league, whatever you're looking at, depending on that draft.
So the Florida Panthers got Gavin McKenna. They could theoretically get him, and then they'd have a healthy Barkov next year, and they just go back to being that dominant team they've been the last 2 years. But yeah, the New Jersey Devils, Nashville Predators, San Jose Sharks, and Florida Panthers all have more wins than losses this year, but they're all picking 7 through 10 at the moment in the draft order if the season ended today. So that's crazy because the Devils were my preseason pick to make the Stanley Cup. Nashville, 26 wins, 24 losses, 7 overtime losses. I'm not factoring in the overtime losses. If you factor in the overtime losses, Florida is the only one of those teams with a winning record. If you take the overtime losses out of the equation, you got 4 teams with winning records. So that's insane.
Very much. Very much.
I want to see an NFL season like that where
I was
4
about to
teams
say, man,
in the top 10 have winning records.
I was about to bring it up. I was like, that kind of happens the opposite way in the NFL sometimes. With the 8, 9, or 7 or 8.
The Browns go
whatever.
9-8, but they end up with the 10th pick in the draft. Maybe that's
7
not the
and 9.
best example. The Raiders go 9-8, but they end up with the 10th pick in the draft with the Doza, just due to how good the AFC
The
was.
Doza. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So,
what's your score for the Super Bowl, Joey? I think Wes has 35-28 Patriots. But he has both QBs getting 300 yards, but he has May playing turnover-free ball, and he has Stafford throwing multiple picks. I mean, these are the standings. And for everyone wondering, Wes is going to finish first in the country. Tony, Mario, and Kerm are playing for second. Whoever Seattle wins, Tony's second in the year. If New England wins, Kerm is second on the year. So Wes, Tony, and Kerm are going to be in the top 3 nationally. So CBS had the top 2 nationally in 2017, 2018 with Pete Prisco and Jamie Eisenberg, who won it the next year. This is the first time any independent media companies had the top 3 in the country. 1, 2, 3. Jason Reed of ESPN is 4th. Right now, Pete Prisco of CBS is 5th. But if the Patriots win, I move into a tie for 5th place with Pete Prisco. On the flip side, if Seattle wins, Oren moves into a tie for 6th place with Reagan Holgate, who is second in the regular season before no longer making playoff picks. And Oren would own the tiebreaker that would move him into 6th place. Daniel Keyser, currently a game back of Oren, can move into 8th place with a tiebreaker over Oren if the Patriots win. So there's multiple tiebreaker scenarios in the top 10 nationally, and they all come down to this one game. So yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Nice.
We have all these tiebreakers in play here for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's actually pretty awesome. So
we got 4 tiebreakers in the 4 potential tiebreakers in the top 10, and they do involve the Draft Utopia staff. But yeah, Wes is going to join me as the only other person to be number 1 twice in this decade nationally. Good job, Wes, and we'll see if Kerm or Tony gets that 2nd place tiebreaker, because this is Tony's first year. Kerm was 3rd last year with 203 games correct, 202 games correct, a game back of 1st place. And he can finish 2nd and improve on that with a Patriot win. If Seahawks win, he would tie Tony Mario for 2nd, but Tony Mario would have the Super Bowl champion correct, and that's been the default tiebreaker when 2 people have the same record, is who picked the Super Bowl champion. That's the de facto tiebreaker. So, yeah.
I like it. I definitely like it a lot, man. So
I'm just curious I'm just curious what Joey's score is, but yeah,
I've got Darnold. I've got Darnold with 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
That's kind of what I've got as well.
Drake May with 2 touchdowns. 3 total, 1 on his feet.
Yep.
Yeah, and
that's what I've got. And I've got Drake May throwing 0 interceptions. Wes, you and me all have Drake May getting over 300 yards too.
Yep. Yes, for sure. So, like I said, that's why I've got it 31-28 or 31-21, and
31-28 was Daniel's score, by the way. He picked the Patriots 8 times this year. He picked Seattle 7 times this year. That's what his pick came down to. He decided, all right, what team did I pick more frequently from week 1 till now? That was his thought process, and New England barely edged out Seattle. So, and Wes originally was going to pick Seattle, but he flipped to New England. So I think that says something. And USA just scored over Finland at the Winter Olympics. USA Network is what the is this women's hockey or is this this is I thought this was men's hockey. This is women's hockey actually.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
But USA's playing Finland in the Winter Olympics in hockey on USA Network. I thought it was men's hockey. It's women's hockey. And USA women just scored on Finland. So that's currently on USA Network and Peacock. Look, the only reason I like the Winter Olympics. The only reason I like the Winter Olympics is hockey. That's really the only thing I find appealing about the Winter Olympics. I used to enjoy the figure skating when I was a kid, when like they had Michelle Kwan and all the other figure skaters back in the day. I don't really watch that as much now. I mainly only watch the Olympics for hockey.
So you're telling me that Donna Glatt, Doug Glatt's little sister, might be an enforcer somewhere?
She might be. USA's leading Finland 4-0 to start the third period in Milan, Italy, where the Olympics are being held. So USA's kicked, and they're out shooting Finland 36-9.
I love women, dude. That's gonna be
36-9. That talk about an ass kicking. I mean, that is a literal definition of an ass kicking in hockey, Joey. 4-0, and you're out shooting your opponent 36-9 in a 4-1 ratio.
Do they not have a 10-goal rule? Like a 10-run rule?
Well, 36-9 in shots on goal for the U.S. over Finland.
Well,
That's
never mind.
4-0 lead, but 36-9 shots on goal. 36 shots on goal for the U.S. Finland with 9 shots on goal.
Nice.
Let Finland borrow some players from the men's hockey team to make this a little bit closer. USA will still probably win. That's how bad Finland's playing. If you put Mikko Rantanen on this on this Finland women's team, they'd probably still lose. That's saying a lot because Mikko Rantanen's had a fantastic year with the Stars this season. So, yeah,
dude, I love it.
He was great with the Avalanche too, but he broke a lot of Avs fans' hearts last year in the playoffs. But yeah, what else? I'm just curious what Joey's score is, and then we are going to sign off because I do have to pick up my Xbox today. I have to go to the repair shop where I took my Xbox on my birthday, and I got to pick it up. So we are going to sign off soon. But yeah, I want Joey's score or how he thinks, because I know he picked Seattle to win. I'm just kind of curious how you think the game's going to end, and then we'll sign off. I think Joey left because his phone died. Let me double check.
I inadvertently.
Joey's no longer on the stream. I think he left.
I was inadvertently trying to jab Joey because I knew he was going to pick the Seahawks when I was talking about jabbing Oren.
This is the 250th year of America too, William. That's the other thing. It's the 250th year of America. So,
man, we got Patriots. 2001 was, September 11th. Everything else, Patriots, man.
Yeah, and it's like all the people that believe the game is scripted, leaked, that use numerology and gematria to pick winners, which I think I'm not a big proponent of, but I know a lot of people do it. They're saying that the Super Bowl's connected to the Patriots. And they're pointing out Patriots' 41st all-time playoff win, Super Bowl 41. Kobe Bryant, 41. Seahawks 1-3 in Super Bowl. Kobe died at 41. Gianna died at 13. Kobe died in a plane crash. Patriots are the 9/11 team. See? They're bringing up the symbolism, William. All these people, they are bringing up the symbolism for the Super Bowl. Patriots 60th Super Bowl. Trump won the 60th election. Brady completed 60% of his passes in their last Super Bowl win against the Rams. Patriots and Eagles won the first 2 Super Bowls in Trump's first term. History repeats itself. Yeah, see? The symbolism, William. But the other thing that's not getting talked about is there's actually a bird on the ice logo that looks like the Seahawks bird. So more symbolism. I don't want to talk about ice and politics here. I don't want to do that. So I just think the Patriots are going to win. And I'll leave it at that. And I think Drake May is going to be MVP. But have you seen the memes? The memes, there's like an incel. There's like an incel wearing a hat, and he goes, Drake May. And then there's this other angry, pissed off guy. He's like, you're going to die. And then the guy who hears he's going to die just goes, Drake May. It's like a meme. It's a very stupid meme.
Drake May. Yeah.
What's the Drake May meme? The incel. What is it? The frickin' I'm trying to find the actual meme. I'm trying to find the actual meme. With the incel, because I think it's funny. Then there's I think Allen will get one next year, but I think it's Drake May's year this year. And then it's probably going to be, because Super Bowl's on Valentine's Day next year. The theme of the Super Bowl is going to be love. So I think the power couples, 5 biggest power couples in football right now, I would argue May and Michael May, the Queen of the North, Mahomes, Swift and Kelsey, Josh Allen, Haley, and Justin Herbert, Madison Beer. Those are the 5 biggest power couples in the NFL right now. I think you will see all of those teams in the divisional round. Bills, Chargers, Patriots, and Chiefs. Those will be the teams that make next year's divisional round. And we'll see Josh Allen beat one of those teams in the divisional round, and they'll win the AFC as the 1 seed next year in the new stadium.
With the 250th anniversary and the Patriots and such, and then everyone fighting this year, maybe in all hopes, the next summer will be the summer of love and again, and
next
everyone's coming back together,
because Jim Kelly's birthday is on Valentine's Day too, and love will be the theme of next year's Super Bowl. This year's Super Bowl is going to be Patriots, Seahawks, and
my boy Rokas here turns 10 on Valentine's Day too. So
cool.
Yeah, you guys just saw him. He was on air for a minute about 10 minutes ago. Yes, asking for his breakfast. So anyway.
Yeah, because if Boston wins their next 2 games, it means Joe Mazzulla improves to 217 and 82. This will be the 217th game since Levi Stadium opened on 8-2. New England Patriots has numerology of 217 and 82. So Decoding Oz, Script Leaker, they're all pointing out the numerology that favors the Patriots over the Seahawks. So, and they're pointing out how this is the 60th election. 60th Super Bowl, Trump won the 60th election. I'm not saying it's in the bag. I still think Seattle's going to put up a hell of a fight, but I think Drake May is going to break Drake's MLB team. He beat the Mariners in Game 7 last year. Drake's MLB team, the Blue Jays, they beat the Mariners. Now Drake May will beat Seattle. And that was on Kenneth Walker's birthday. And Kenneth Walker and Kamala Harris, they share the same birthday. Just very interesting stuff by these script leakers with their BS or whatever. But yeah, William, you make your kids breakfast. I'm going to go get my Xbox. We're going to sign off. But everyone watching this, thank you so much. We enjoyed the Super Bowl. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And next week, maybe we'll bring back the draft simulator. Maybe we'll do a top 100. And we'll probably watch some film on some hockey players for the upcoming NHL draft, because I can do that with Instat on Huddle. And I'll let Joey William pick some players that are in the projected top 10. And we'll watch their tape on Instat, because that's one thing I have the ability to do. That's one sport where I do have tape on any player for any given game. We can just watch goals. We don't have to watch all the full game film. But yeah, we'll take a look at that and we'll see where we're at. But I'm going to sign off now, and we're going to